Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm starting a new series which is Vanquish Soul Basics. If you've been around my channel before, I started off doing branded basics and then I did some Plunder Patrol basics, and I did those series on, while I was learning to play the deck at a higher level, and that's what I want to do for Vanquish Soul as well. So I'm going to kind of show how to play the deck from like a ground level, just from the bottom up, how to learn how to play this deck, go through each of the cards, talk about what they do and what you want to be thinking about when you're playing the deck. So hope you guys find this interesting. If you're playing Master Duel, I know Master Duel, Vanquish Soul just came out at right, and it's like a popular deck there. So if you're a Master Duel player, this guide will be applicable to you as well, even though I'm using the real cards. Just the concepts and the things you can learn are going to be the same. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, the usual. Let's hop on in. Hey guys, welcome to Vanquish Soul Basics. Today I've laid out all of the cards here in the Vanquish Soul archetype, and I'm going to just talk through them, talk through the deck as a whole, kind of go through what we want to be thinking about when we're playing the game with this particular deck, and kind of tips and tricks, I suppose, to playing this particular deck, because I have to tell you, it is not super intuitive. It's very difficult to just pick this deck up and go. So that's why I think this guide is going to be valuable to anyone playing this deck, whether in the TCG or in Master Duel. I think that it's going to be valuable to just kind of have a little bit of a background, know what's going on before you jump on in and spend, first of all, the money to get this deck in TCG, or all of the gold or bits or whatever it is for Master Duel picking this deck up. Okay, so we're going to go through the deck. Let's talk about it in general first. Okay, Vanquish Soul is a deck that revolves around you having monsters on the field that can activate their effects if you control the appropriate attribute monsters in your hand. These monsters in your hand don't have to be Vanquish Soul monsters. They just have to have the attributes printed on the card of the Vanquish Soul on the field that's using its effect. So for example, Vanquish Soul Raisin has an effect. This is one that says you can reveal a fire monster in your hand, and this card cannot be destroyed by card effects this turn. Okay, so you can reveal another Raisin, you can reveal an Ash Blossom, you can reveal one of the other fire Vanquish Soul cards, and that's totally fine. Okay, so what really this deck revolves around is building your hand so that your on-field monsters have the right attributes to use their effects, which is good and bad at the same time. Okay, it means that if you use hand traps, you're losing attributes maybe. Okay, so you have to think about the sequencing of your plays quite a bit in order to maximize the efficiency of this deck. Okay, so what I want to do here is go through each of the cards in the archetype, and almost all of them are playable, to be honest. I think all but one of them is relevant. So we're going to go through each of them, talk about what they do, and talk about what we want to think about when using those cards, okay? So we're going to start with what's very easily the best card in the deck, which is Vanquish Soul Raisin. Raisin is a card that on summon searches another Vanquish Soul monster from your deck. Why is this important? Well, because you can craft whatever attributes in your hand that you need to be able to play. Okay, so Raisin on summon can search a fire, it can search an earth, can search a dark, and whatever, depending on what you have in your hand or what you have on your field, it will build up the correct attributes to be able to play the game. That's why if you don't see Raisin in your opening hand, it's a bit of a problem. Like, it's kind of a choke point in the deck, is just not seeing the Raisin in the first place. It's like playing Sky Striker and never seeing a Ray. Okay, it's just like that. So it's very important we play a lot of cards in our deck to be able to find the Raisin, summon the Raisin out to our field, and just get it going. All right, Raisin, yeah, that's step one. Then let's talk about Dr. Madlove. Dr. Madlove is the other normal summon of the deck. This is a dark attribute, and on summon it searches a Vanquish Soul spell or trap card. There are three options for this, which are these three. This card, Stake Your Soul, is not a Vanquish Soul card, so because it doesn't have Vanquish Soul in its text, or in its title. So we cannot search Stake Your Soul with Madlove, which is unfortunate, but we can search one of these three, and I'll get into what these three do. But generally, Raisin is a much better normal summon than Madlove, because the attributes and the monsters are much more important part of your engine than these three spell and trap cards. Okay, so we generally want to be spending our normal summon on Raisin if we have the option. The last card we have as a level 4 or lower is Pantera. Pantera can also special summon itself if you control no monsters, kind of like Fenrir. This one has some better interactions with your opponent, actually. So other than just being able to put a body on field, it doesn't really have very many applications to get your game going, okay? So I mean, there's a little bit, which we'll talk about when we come over here, but yeah, generally these two you want to be summoning and searching, spending your normal summon on, and so forth. Okay, now all of these other ones, these are all level 5 or higher. So first of all, we have Xiaolong. Xiaolong is a level 5 where it can summon itself if you use any other Vanquish Soul monster's effect that requires you to reveal something in your hand, okay? We're going to get into what all of these do when we reveal afterwards, but I just want to talk about how we summon these and what they do on summon, okay? Pluton HG. Okay, this is the one card in this list that you don't really have to worry about. This card is not really played anymore. Heavy Borger, which is this one, and Caesar Valius, which is this one. These can summon themselves by returning another Vanquish Soul monster on the field to the hand, okay? So that's kind of important. In general, you want to be summoning one of these guys and then returning them to the hand to summon one of these guys. So that means you both have follow-up, you have attributes in your hand, and you have big monsters on field, and all of those kind of work with each other. All right, now let's talk about what these monsters do with their reveal effects, okay? Once again, Raisin is going to be one of your best monsters. Raisin, each of these, first of all, have 2 effects for reveals depending on attributes, and one of them is usually less limiting than the other. For example, Raisin, if we reveal 1 fire, it can be destroyed by card effects this turn. But if we reveal a fire and a dark, then we can destroy all other monsters in its column, which is important because if our opponent summons something into Raisin's column, we can pop it. Or if we're going second, we can just normal summon Raisin into a column that already contains a monster and then pop it. Or we'll see later on that we can just summon Raisin on our opponent's turn wherever we need it, so we can pop the whole column, okay? Next, Dr. Madlove. For Madlove, it can reveal a darkened hand to reduce a monster's attack and defense on the field by 500. Or if we reveal a dark and an earth, we can return whatever monster on the field has the lowest defense to the hand, okay? This as an interruption is not that great because a lot of times your opponent's monsters won't have the lowest defense on the field, which is kind of an issue, and therefore you're not going to want to activate it, or else you're going to be returning your own stuff to the hand, which I guess in very niche situations is useful. But generally, Dr. Madlove, you're going to want to fire off right away as an interruption before your opponent can just build up their monsters into bigger monsters and stuff that has no defense, like Lynx and stuff like that. Madlove won't work on Lynx, so that's no good. And then Pantera. Pantera can reveal an earth, and then she cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Or if you reveal an earth and a fire, you can destroy all spell traps in Pantera's column. Okay, so it's kind of like Raisin, that destroys all monsters in the column, but Pantera destroys all spell and trap cards in the column. So just like Raisin, you can summon this into a column that already contains your opponent's spell and trap card to be able to pop, or in the very niche situation where your opponent is playing Pendulum, you can just put Pantera on your turn going first into one of the leftmost or rightmost spell or monster zones. That way when your opponent plays a Pendulum card in the Pendulum zone, you can pop that. But other than that, your opponent, if they know what they're doing, is not going to put any spell traps in Pantera's column. Okay, so those are the 3 level 4 monsters. Now let's talk about the bigger ones. Okay, Xiaolong, this is the new one from Age of Overlord. And this really kind of helps the deck out a lot because it adds extra searches. Okay, Xiaolong can reveal 1 fire monster to change the battle position of a monster on the field, or it can reveal 2 fire monsters to search any Vanquish Soul card from your deck to your hand. And based on a little bit of comboing, we can very frequently resolve that double fire effect. And if you'll notice, you're going to notice as we go that fire is one of the most important attributes that we want to have in our hand, and therefore Ash Blossom is an incredibly good card. Not only is it good in general because of Ash, but it's also a fire monster for a reveal, and we'll get into it later. But Fenrir and Kashtira is also a very good card because not only is Fenrir an interruption, but it searches you a Rise Heart. So that's just another fire. So we have a lot of fire monster searching effects, and therefore we can frequently try to resolve Raisin and Xiaolong because they are our best effects. Alright, let's move on to Pluton HG. I have to read this one because I haven't actually played it. If we can reveal a 1 fire monster, and this card gains 3000 defense for the whole turn. Or we can reveal a dark and an earth, and this card gains 3000 attack for the whole turn. As I said, Pluton HG is not really played anymore now that Xiaolong is out. We used to play it because, like I said, fire attributes are very important. But now that Xiaolong is released, it's also a fire. If you were going to play Pluton, you might as well just play another Xiaolong instead. So that's pretty much where this card is at. Now moving on to Heavy Borger. Heavy Borger is one of the best cards in the deck just because of its utility. So Heavy Borger, if you remember, can summon itself by bouncing one of these guys or any monster in your hand, but typically one of these guys. And you can reveal 1 dark to draw 1 card. Okay? And generally speaking, that's why Raisin and Borger are played at such high levels, is because they have very easy access to you just getting more cards. Raisin is searching, Borger is drawing. Just keep in mind if you're playing Prosperity that you can't use Borger on your turn when you use it. But note that these are quick effects. These are all quick effects, all of the reveal cards, okay? So on both turns, you could end up drawing 2 cards. Draw 1 on your turn, draw phase, draw 1 on your opponent's turn. All quick effects. Caesar Valius. Okay, well, let's finish Borger. Borger, the reveal is for a dark is to draw 1. If you reveal an earth and a fire, you burn for 1500, which is not a small amount, number 1. Number 2 is that you have in-engine ways to win in time. And that is incredibly good in tournament settings, especially in the TCG. I don't know how applicable time is in Master Duel. I'm guessing not so much. But it's very important to know that Borger can burn for time. Alright, let's move on to Caesar Valius, the final main deck monster. Valius, if you reveal an earth, it's unaffected by card effects this turn. And if you reveal all 3 attributes, earth, fire, and dark, you can non-target destroy 1 card on the field. So Valius is kind of like your generic removal card. Not only that, it's also 3000 attack, so it's kind of your boss monster. And typically we're playing 2 of these in the deck, okay? Because we want earth monsters. We're kind of low on earths. As we know, all of our best monsters are dark, fire, fire, and dark. So we're kind of playing a lot of copies of these, but we're a little bit low on earth monsters. So I think Valius is worth playing at least 2 copies of to facilitate you using all of your effects that require earth. Okay? Yeah, so that's going to be pretty good. I don't know if I mentioned, but all of these effects to summon themselves are also quick effects during the main phase, okay? So during our opponent's turn, we can use our Raisin, destroy a column, then swap it out for a Borger effect, draw 1, that kind of thing. Swap it out for a Caesar Valius effect, pop a card, and that kind of thing, okay? Let's move on to Rock of the Vanquisher, which is our Link 1. Incredibly important card, and you're probably playing 3 of this in your deck. Rock is a Link 1 using any Vanquish Soul monster as material, and it has 2 effects, and you can only use 1 per turn, okay? So Rock can either special summon a Vanquish Soul monster from your hand, quick effect, or it can add a Vanquish Soul monster back from your graveyard to your hand. And note, it's a Link 1, so whatever you link off basically just goes to your hand instead. It's almost like a backup one of these guys, where you're summoning a Vanquish Soul monster and then just getting that, whatever you used as material, to your hand anyway. And that is incredibly important because we can craft, again, our hand of different attribute monsters, okay? So, yeah, Rock is really what the deck is based around, and we'll go through a couple example situations of why Rock is so good after we're done going through these, which we're almost through. Okay, let's talk about these spell and traps next. Stake Your Soul. Stake Your Soul is essential for consistency in this deck. What it does is reveals a monster with some attribute in your hand, and you can special summon a Vanquish Soul monster with that same attribute from your deck. That means that we can summon Raisin from deck if we reveal Ash Blossom, for example. If we reveal Xiaolong, for example. We can summon a Mad Love from the deck by revealing a Borger, or we can summon a Borga from the deck by revealing a Mad Love. It really just gets out whatever we need, and it's very essential to the deck, and it's incredibly useful for the consistency. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Vanquish Soul in the name, so we can't search it with Mad Love. If there was one thing that we could change about this deck, it would be that. It would be stake your Vanquish Soul or something. But alas, this is what we have to work with. So it's fairly simple. It just summons out whatever you need from deck as long as you have something with that attribute in your hand. Now we'll talk about Continue, which is the next most popular card. Continue is very simple. You pay 500 and you target a Vanquish Soul monster in your graveyard, and you can either summon it or add it back to your hand. Now you may be thinking, why would I add it back to my hand if I could summon it instead? Well, you may need a specific attribute in your hand to reveal something, or to activate one of your monster effects on the board already. So if we need, oh man, I need another fire monster, let me use Continue, add back a fire to my hand. Well, then you can resolve some effects, and that's why Continue is very versatile, either summoning or adding back. And it's a quick play as well, so it's it can be used as an interruption on our opponent's turn. Remember, Raisin pops everything in its column, so if you have a Raisin in your graveyard, a Continue in your set on your field, and then in your opponent's turn, if they summon something, we can just go Continue, summon a Raisin to the column, which contains whatever we want to pop, and then use the Raisin effect if we have the right attributes. Next card, Vanquish Soul Dust Devil. This card is basically Book of Eclipse. I'll just simplify it that way. You change the position of a Vanquish Soul monster you have from attack to defense or defense to attack, and then you can book monsters on your opponent's field up to however many Vanquish Soul monsters you control. Okay, so it's a little bit worse Book of Eclipse because you have to have a board already to use it, but it's a very good interruption going first. Like if you can search this with Mad Love and set it, then just booking 2 or 3 monsters is incredibly good. It's also okay going second if you can establish monsters on the field and keep them there. Then we can book our opponent's field and play through more interruptions. And then the last card is Vanquish Soul Dust Devil, Snow Devil, out of Age of Overlord as well. So this trap card is kind of nuts if it resolves. So essentially, you reveal monsters with different attributes in your hand, and then you can apply effects on this card based on how many different attributes you revealed, with the maximum of 3, and it's specifically Dark, Fire, and Earth, which are the Vanquish Soul attributes, okay? So if you reveal just one of those attributes, it doesn't matter which one, but if you reveal just one, first you burn your opponent for 400 damage, which is nice, and then you can special summon one Vanquish Soul monster from your hand. If you reveal 2 attributes, any 2, like Fire and Dark, Fire and Earth, Earth and Dark, then you burn your opponent for another 600. Another 600. And then this turn, Vanquish Soul monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay, and then if you reveal all 3 attributes, Fire, Dark, and Earth, then you burn for another 800, and then you can choose to destroy all other monsters on the field. Okay, or all monsters on the field. And if you recall the second part of the effect, Vanquish Soul monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects, that includes Snow Devil. So if you reveal all 3, first you can summon something, then you can protect them all, then you can destroy everything else. So this is just a board wipe on your opponent's turn, which is incredibly good, plus 2,000 burn. If you're also keeping track, Border can do 1,500 burn on your turn, and then 1,500 burn on our opponent's turn. So we can burn our opponent for 5,000 very quickly, which is kind of nuts. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our Vanquish Soul cards, just the summary of them. And now let's talk a little bit about side engine options. So first of all, Fenrir. I already talked about it, but Fenrir is an incredible card in this particular deck. And why is that? If you remember, all of our stuff resolved really well if we had 2 fire monsters. If we had a Raisin plus another fire. And the best thing about Fenrir is that it can search a fire monster. If I can just find it in this deck, here it is. Kashtira Riseheart is a fire. Okay, so we can go ahead, special summon Fenrir, search Riseheart, and that has a ton of applicability. First of all, we can use it as a reveal for Stake Your Soul to summon a Raisin, if we don't already have one. We can normal summon a Raisin and search Xiaolong and go into that line, because when we summon Xiaolong, add back the Raisin with Rock, now we have 2 fires. Okay, so that's all really good. Plus, not only that, if we already have enough fire access, Fenrir can just search another copy of itself, which we are kind of low on earth monsters in this deck, obviously. So we only are playing a couple Caesar Valius, maybe 1 Pantera, and other than that, we don't have a lot of earths to work with. So just searching another Fenrir, even if we don't have Rise Heart or we don't need it, it's still really good. So Fenrir kind of just figures out your hand with whatever you need, plus it's an incredible interruption going first or second. So yeah, that's incredibly good. Let me scoop that up. Let me talk about other things that are commonly played. Artifact Durandal. Not Artifact, I keep saying that. Infernoble Arms Durandal. This card searches a Fire Warrior monster. And Raisin, of course, is a Fire Warrior. So, wherever it is, we can equip Durandal to anything our opponent controls, anything we control. Send it to the graveyard to search a Raisin, which is incredibly good. So, as we've been talking about, getting into Raisin is very important. And yeah, it's super necessary for being able to have your deck function properly and to like a decent level. Okay, anything else we want to show off here? Pot of Prosperity is an option. It's another card that we can play to search a Raisin. I've also seen decks with Desires in Small World. I've seen that, but I think Prosperity is much better. I don't really want to be banishing all that kind of stuff or going neg off of Small World. I'd rather go for the Prosperity, because chances are you're going to see a Staker Soul, you're going to see a Raisin, you're going to see a Durandal, enough where you don't need to directly search the Raisin to guarantee it. Okay, anything else? Hand traps. We've been talking about it, but hand traps are very good because not only are they interruptions, not only are they good non-engine, but they also serve as attributes. Okay, so we have Ash, which is a fire, absolute staple. We have Ghost Spell, which is an earth. Ghost Spell's not that great in the meta right now, but it's an earth monster, so it doubles. It has double effect. Dimension Shifter, this deck doesn't really require the graveyard too much, so Shifter is definitely an option. And a quick pro tip with Shifter: if we have Shifter plus Raisin, we can go normal summon Raisin. We can link Raisin off into Rock, add back the Raisin, and then Shifter. So we can get the Rock value before we Shifter. So always keep that in mind. Don't just shotgun the Shifter and just lose your Raisin for nothing, okay? Make sure you link into Rock add back first. Yes, if you get impermed, that's gonna hurt a little bit, but you can just kind of pass turn, then go Rock on your opponent's turn, add back the Raisin, then Shifter on your opponent's turn. So there is a little bit of way to play around that, but yeah. Yeah, these are quality hand traps. And then I also like to play DD Crow as another dark target. I just like to have all of the attributes that I can in my deck. So Shifter, Bell, Ash, and Crow. You can play Droll, you can play Nib if you want, but those are wind attribute and light attribute, and we don't really have any need for those in the engine itself. So that's up to you. Yeah, and then we have Reinforcement of the Army, of course, to search our Raisin. So yeah, these are like very commonly played staple cards, non-engine cards in the deck. So I just wanted to show those in the first basics video here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and find it at least a little bit useful. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything about Vanquish Soul that you want me to cover for next time. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you later.